Hi everyone, it's Peter Schiff. This is Tuesday, October 27th, 2009. I'm going to do a little bit of a special blog today. I'm not going to talk about the markets. I'm going to talk a little bit about real estate. I knew in my blog from yesterday when I mentioned that buying a house was not an investment, I knew that that would tick some people off, certainly realtors. But I noticed on the comments on yesterday's blog that people were trying to find fault in my statement. So let me do a little bit of a real estate primer for people who are still confused on what is and is not an investment. First of all, certainly real estate in some forms can be an investment, and it's a good investment in some cases. Firstly, you can buy property and rent it out. You can buy rental property, you can buy office property, you can buy apartments, you can even rent out single-family homes. It's not as good as a multifamily or apartments. But what makes it an investment is because you have a rental income. Just like when you buy stocks, you get a dividend. When you buy bonds, you're paid interest. When you have rental property, you earn rents, and that makes it an investment. Although I don't think rental property is a particularly good investment right now in America, because the problem with rental property is the rents are determined by the relative affluence or the ability of the potential tenants to pay. And in a recession, with people losing their jobs and with the dollar losing value, I think Americans in most parts of the country are going to become poor tenants. So if you really want to invest in income property, you should look at other parts of the world where living standards will be rising, where currencies will be gaining, so you have a more affluent population to rent to. And that's what we're doing. I'm buying a lot of commercial real estate trusts for my clients. I think that commercial real estate, industrial real estate outside the United States makes a lot of sense, and certainly residential property potentially, but it's a lot harder to buy that property overseas and have it professionally managed. Now, also, you can make money in real estate as a developer. There are plenty of people that make money buying raw land, constructing a property on it, whether it's a residential property or an industrial or commercial property. You become a contractor, you get architects, you build something, and then you sell it, and you make a profit because you've added all sorts of value based on the work and the effort that you put into it. But as an individual, if you just go to a real estate builder and you just buy a house and you pay retail, and somebody else has made the profit, you're not making an investment. You're buying a house the way you would buy a car or the way you would buy a boat or buy any other product. Now, certainly, in today's market, you might have an opportunity where you can buy a property from a builder or from a bank for less than it costs to build. For example, let's say a developer paid $200,000 to buy a parcel of land and spent $300,000 building a house. If you can buy the whole thing today for $200,000, well, obviously, it would be impossible to replicate that, because even if you got the land for free and it would cost you $300,000 to build the house, so if you buy it for $200,000, you're getting a good deal. But it doesn't mean that it's going to appreciate, certainly not in the short run. Depending on what happens to the economy, the real estate market, I think many houses are going to be selling for a lot less than the cost to construct them, which is one of the reasons that without all these government subsidies, eventually home construction is going to go to an end, because nobody is going to buy land and build a house when they're actually destroying value in the process. And of course, you never know. I mean, when people buy houses, certainly, there are examples where people have bought houses and those houses have appreciated. But that doesn't mean that they made money because of an investment. It just happened that the price went up. They potentially made money as a real estate speculator, not as a real estate investor. If real estate prices rise, right, well, that's simply because of changing dynamics. If you're going to try to bet that prices rise simply as a function of things that happen beyond your control, right? If you think real estate prices will go up and you don't have to do anything, you could just buy a house and live in it and the real estate price will go up, it's possible. But it's also possible it can go down. But that doesn't mean it's an investment. It means you're making a speculation on what potentially might happen in real estate. For example, I was just looking at a rental property, a house in Bridgeport in Connecticut. It was on the rental market. It's still for rent if anybody wants it, for $7,500 a month. It's also for sale for about $2.5 million, which certainly means that from a perspective of rent versus own, it's a lot cheaper to rent it than buy it. But what's interesting about it is the house itself is about 17,000 square feet. To build that house today, and it's a beautifully built home, it was built some time ago, it would cost you over $10 million to replicate that structure. $10 million. Yet they can't even sell it for $2.5 million. It's on a 4 or 5 acre plot very near the Long Island Sound. It's got a swimming pool, it's got a tennis court, it's got like a 12-car garage. Why is this house $2.5 million? Because it's in Bridgeport. And people don't want to live in Bridgeport today. Even though it's in Fairfield County, 10, 15 minutes from my office, people just don't want to live there. It's not a good neighborhood. Of course, it was a good neighborhood at one time, but things change. So the house is worth a lot less because of what happened to the neighborhood. Certainly, the opposite could happen. I mean, somebody might have bought some property in the desert in Las Vegas before the Strip was there, and it was practically worthless. Then at some point in time, the Vegas Strip is there, and now all of a sudden, the land is much more valuable. That can happen in real estate. I mean, real estate prices can gain, but because of the changing demographics, areas can become desirable. You can buy a house, and all of a sudden, a major employer in that area can shut down, and there can be thousands of jobs lost. And all of a sudden, your house loses a lot of value because there's no employer in the area. And the other people who used to live there, now their houses are on the market. They can't make their mortgage payments. It can happen the other way. You can buy a house in an area, and then a major employer moves in, and now there's more people that want to live in the area, and it's possible that the land could appreciate. But that doesn't mean that real estate wasn't necessarily an investment. You might have benefited as a speculator. But what people need to know about real estate is that while land may appreciate and may depreciate, the structure never appreciates. The structure always depreciates as you wear it out, as you use it up. Things are no longer new. And also, tastes change. Things become dated. Look at all these houses that were built in the 1970s. Most of these modern structures, as far as I'm concerned, they're worthless. If I was to buy one of them, I'd have to tear down the house. In fact, everybody knows the expression about a tear down, right? What's a tear down? That means you have to take the house and completely demolish it. You tear it down. You're buying it for the land value. But every tear down at one point in time was a brand new house, right? It had to be. By definition, it was built. So that was a brand new house that is depreciated to zero. It's worth nothing. The people who bought their homes 10 or 20 years ago where the structure is worth more, it's because they spent a lot of money over the years maintaining it, updating it, modernizing it. And so people see the current price today and they forget to factor in all the upkeep over the years. But in any event, I just wanted to clear that up so that people don't confuse. Yes, some people got rich owning real estate, but of course, we just went through a real estate mania where prices went up. A lot of people are now going broke in real estate. Certainly a lot of banks who loaned money to real estate speculators have gone broke or would be broke if the government wasn't in the process of bailing them out. So, and the idea that somehow if you're renting, you're throwing your money away, but if you're buying, somehow you get a free ride. You can't get out of paying for shelter. You're going to pay for it one way or another. You can rent it or you can own it. But either way, you're spending money, right? You're not making an investment. You need a place to live, and you're making a lifestyle choice as to how you want to do it. Do you want to rent your residence or do you want to own your residence? But if you want to invest money, if you want to build for the future, it's not going to happen because you own a house and occupy it. If you want to build for the future, you've got to save your money and you've got to invest it wisely. You can invest it in dividend-paying stocks. You can invest it in interest-bearing notes and bonds. You can buy rental property. You can make investments in the United States. You can make investments all around the world. But the idea that owning your principal residence is an investment is a concept that was foisted on us by the real estate agency, who has also hijacked the whole concept of the American dream and turned the American dream into home ownership. It's not. That is not the American dream. That is not how you get rich in America. You're supposed to get rich by hard work and by sacrifice. And the American dream is that any American citizen, no matter who his parents are, if he works hard and applies himself and saves his money, he can be rich and be rich enough to afford to spend his money on renting or buying a home. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope this helps.